tonight. A big drug bust in Regina, and among those charged with drug trafficking are 2 U of R football players. Also, Saskatchewan honors Ukrainians on the 3rd anniversary of Russia's invasion. Plus, help for families as their children get medical care. The Queen City is getting a Ronald McDonald house.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, February 24th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hi there, thank you for watching. 5 men have been charged in Saskatchewan after a 4-month-long drug investigation. 2 of them play football for the University of Regina Rams. Officers from Regina's Drug and Gangs Unit executed 8 search warrants last week. 5 of them were at homes, 1 in Alameda, 1 in Frobisher, and 3 in Regina. Officers also searched and seized 3 vehicles, plus a significant amount of illegal drugs, including fentanyl, meth, and cocaine, specifically 7.5 kilograms of fentanyl.
The fentanyl did come from out of province. It came from the east. If you were to break that down and consider who that would go to, although I won't have specific names for you, I can tell you if you were to look at street level, that's 75,000 doses. So 75,000 people in our community and maybe some surrounding communities do not have access to that now.
The U of R confirms 24-year-old Tariq Polius and 21-year-old Michael Jordan have been charged. Both play for the Rams, now suspended from the team. Also facing charges, 36-year-old Emmanuel Bashir, 32-year-old Morteza Ahadi, and 44-year-old Randall Reset. Police also seized more than $150,000 in cash and 2 guns. Police believe the seized drugs are worth about $1.5 million on the street. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was one of several world leaders in Ukraine, marking the 3rd anniversary of the Russian invasion. He pledged new aid and more military equipment.
Everything is on the table because we need to make sure that might no longer makes right in this world.
Trudeau also met with other G7 leaders while there. Several European countries have also promised more assistance. Ukraine's president has repeatedly said that his country has to be at the table for any peace deal. The U.S. and Russia have been in peace negotiations, but Ukraine has been excluded. The sombre anniversary was also marked with many ceremonies in Saskatchewan. Helena Mahalik has that story.
The national anthem for Ukraine filled the Saskatchewan Legislative Building to mark 3 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. Members of the Ukrainian community were there for a candle-lighting ceremony, including this woman who fled Ukraine in 2022 while pregnant.
I'm happy that I'm here. I came here and we receive a lot of support, and we are grateful for all people that support us.
Since the war began, Saskatchewan has welcomed nearly 8,000 Ukrainians who fled the conflict.
I think that it shows the resilience of Ukrainian people, that Russia was a little bit too confident, and unfortunately the invasion has shown that the Ukrainian people will stand together, and from all over the world. I think that so many people respect the Ukrainian people, and especially here in Saskatchewan, we're very, very happy to have hosted as many displaced Ukrainians as we could.
A photo exhibit in Saskatoon is showing the damage that's been done to religious temples in Ukraine during the war. The exhibit opened Sunday at the Musée Ukrainien. The museum says more than 660 religious sites from different religions have been obliterated or damaged.
Many of these buildings are old buildings, have very much historical value, and of course cultural value, and just for the well-being of people. We know that having faith and having a place to gather and worship in one's belief is very important.
Anna Mitzik says the first way to destroy a culture is to destroy the people's faith and heritage. The photos were taken from an exhibit in Kyiv, Ukraine. A gathering was also held at Saskatoon's Ukrainian Museum of Canada and on the university campus.
It is still real, it does still exist, and so to be able to share this on the actual 3rd day of the invasion is very important, not just for Ukrainians, but for Canadians alike.
As long as the conflict continues, the province has promised they'll do their part, giving displaced Ukrainians access to language training, employment connection, and community support. Helena Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The province has temporarily paused one of its key immigration programs, potentially leaving immigrants without the jobs they need to remain in Canada and leaving businesses without workers. Alexander Kwan reports.
The province has quietly paused a program that allows employers to hire foreign workers. The Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program, or SINP, is meant to address labor shortages by allowing immigrants to fill vacancies. Employers are only allowed to hire them after they've shown that nobody else in the province is available to do the job. It's a familiar process for Mike Patel, who runs several small stores throughout rural Saskatchewan.
In a smaller town, sometimes there is not even a people available for people to work. So this program helped to even develop the businesses, develop the smaller communities to help the local people over there.
The sudden decision pauses the program for at least several weeks. There are worries it could leave businesses without workers and employees without a status to remain in Canada. The provincial government says Ottawa is to blame. The federal government is slashing immigration numbers across the country due to challenges around housing and social services. So in Saskatchewan, that means just 3,600 spots in its nomination program. That's down by half and the lowest number since 2009. The province says the pause is necessary to figure out where positions are most needed. For the director of an immigration consultant company, the pause by the provincial government has been disruptive. Rajdeep Singh's phone has been ringing off the hook. Last week, Singh received 100 calls from people trying to get answers.
We have seen a lot of panic in both employers and employees. Obviously, this was very sudden. There was no prior announcement via SINP that they'll bring out something like this.
Singh says he has no answers because the province hasn't provided them with any. A master's student at the University of Regina has been waiting years to be selected through the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. He says the abrupt decision is unfair.
When you are declaring a law or a policy, and the people who already came here based upon that policy, there should be some flexibility for those people.
People that rely on the program say they need answers soon because their livelihoods and their place in Canada hangs in the balance. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Indigenous leaders are reacting to Donald Trump's threat to make Canada a 51st state. Our Prime Minister has repeatedly insisted the claims will never come to fruition, but still, chiefs in Saskatchewan say the suggestion ignores their people's rights to autonomy.
It's clearly evident that Trump is lacking knowledge of treaties, and it's insulting. And, I know everybody around Canada, leadership, politicians, they're making this statement very true, that we are, going to work together nation to nation.
First Nations are inherently sovereign, so that means that the Creator above gave us that right to govern ourselves. It doesn't come from a president or a prime minister, it comes from the Creator himself, so that's a right that can be taken away. So First Nations have always had the right to govern ourselves, and we maintain that to this day, and that can't be taken away from anyone on this world, let's say, from any government official. It's our right that we're born with.
If you couldn't reach the 811 health line over the weekend, you're not alone. Tech problems put it out of service briefly on Saturday. The opposition says it's another example of a broken healthcare system. 811 is a 24-hour service for people to call into for medical and mental health advice. It's meant to help reduce unnecessary ER visits. The NDP says the outage is concerning, while in-person health services are reducing hours.
You're talking about Healthline 811 on the weekend. This might be an emergency last resort for people. We know it's a well-utilized line, and it's important that people have access to it. It's simply unacceptable that it was down this weekend.
This as a doctor shortage forced Saskatoon City Hospital to reduce its ER hours until March 2nd. The Saskatchewan Health Authority says the outage lasted about 40 minutes on Saturday. 911 services were not affected. Good news for medical parents. A Ronald McDonald house is coming to the Queen City. It's known as a home away from home while families with children receive medical treatment. It will be built not far from Regina General Hospital, and families will pay as little as $10 a day to stay there. The accommodations will make a huge difference for rural families who won't have to repeatedly pay for fuel and hotels to see their kids.
Some families are there for days, weeks, months, some stay for over a year. Walking into Ronald McDonald House feels like a warm hug. It feels like home. It does not make the journey easy, but it does make it easier.
The Saskatchewan government is kicking in $6.5 million to pay for it. Construction is to start next month. The hope is that Ronald McDonald House in Regina will open in early 2027. It is that time of year when windshield washer fluid is a hot commodity. The freezing weather has finally moved on and we're in for a bit of melty warm-up for the next little while. Riley Lachuk will have the details in your forecast after the break. Stay with us. This month honors Indigenous storytelling. Events across the province have been honoring it all of February. Last week, a youth summit was held by Star Blanket Cree Nation in Lebret, and Darla Pones has the details.
Watch me turn the tables till we eating like some king. The beautiful hairdressers, the culture is so impressive.
This is Jesus, a well-known Indigenous rapper. His real name is Jeremiah Manitopius, and he's from Muscaugan First Nation in Saskatchewan.
I just want to say hi, miigwech for having me.
He's here in Lebret to share his story as part of Indigenous Storytelling Month.
When I was a kid, I didn't really have a father figure. I had my mother, thankfully, but as far as like father figure, as far as positive role models, I didn't really have that.
Manitopius attended residential school here in Lebret in the 90s. For the last 2 years, it was open. He says without a father figure, he fell into a rough crowd, struggled with addiction, and landed in jail not once, but twice. That is where he spent time with an elder and discovered his culture and traditional ways.
I found a connection. My spirit was yearning for a connection.
Jesus got sober and began focusing on positive messages in his music. Soon, he was winning some pretty big awards, and today he shares his story to help motivate others.
How he went through a hard time and then decided that one day music was like speaking to him.
He didn't have a father growing up, right? So like him actually learning how to be a father was like the most interesting part of it. It was like really good to learn about that.
That's what I always wanted, was to be traditional. I always wanted to come up in a traditional family. I always looked up to the elders. I always looked up to the ceremony keepers, because to me that was strength. Even back then I saw it, and I know it. But it always felt like a million miles away.
I wake up, I smudge up, Creator bless my body.
And now, Manitopius has become someone these kids can look up to. Darla Pones, CBC News, Lebret.
Bryce Sharing says she always imagined her father designing her engagement ring. The two share a first name, and he's a veteran goldsmith of 40 years in Yorkton. Her fiancé, Dawson Leadall, teamed up with her dad to make his proposal special with a unique design.
It was a sunset horseback ride. It was such a beautiful evening. And then that's when he had stopped me and he said that he wanted to ask me something that he's been wanting to ask me for a while. And I was just like in shock, and I didn't even know like what he was doing until he pulled out the ring and I saw he was like tearing up. And that's when he had asked me if I would marry him. My fiance went to my dad because my dad's been in the jewelry business for 40 years. He's been a goldsmith for as long as I've known him.
I tell you, for some reason, I'm feeling a little nervous with this particular job. I've been doing this for 40 years, but this one here has got me.
Well, I was kind of in shock because I just had no idea that it was happening. Like, I'm really close with my mom and my parents work together. And like the week before I had asked her, I was like, has Dawson like bought a ring or anything like that? And like me just being nosy, like not even expecting her to actually tell me, but I can kind of tell my mom lies. And they had actually kept my mom out of the surprise. Like my mom actually had no idea that the proposal was happening as well. And so when Dawson was doing it, I was just like shocked because I really didn't anticipate it.
Ever since I've known Bryce, like whenever we go to Yorkton, we always go to her parents' shop. So we've had lots of opportunities to be in and around the shop. So once I knew I was wanting to marry her, it was a pretty easy choice to just go to her dad, who's really good at it. And we went there for Christmas, and that's when I asked him for permission, and then I asked him to help me start getting a ring going. So I would just say like the uniqueness of it, there's not really many other rings that look like it. And then just the fact that it's also just made from her dad, I think it makes extra special.
So it's made of 18 karat yellow gold is the mount. The setting is 18 karat white gold. The two are put together, and now you see an oval diamond. I hope you can see that that diamond is actually oval. And it's a Canadian diamond from our famous Caddy diamond mine. And so this whole process, this is my first time, and it's amazing. I love it. Now I get to see the glee and the happiness and all the love that is behind the scenes that I never saw before in a jewelry store. Now I feel good about being a part of it. Being a part of my daughters, over the moon. Over the moon. Big time.
A live look at the sunset over the Queen City this hour. A gorgeous day out there and many more ahead. It is currently 0 degrees. And Riley Lachuk has a look now at your forecast.
Well, certainly, Sam, another above seasonal day for much of us across the province, south and central for sure, but still some colder air in the north. You can kind of see where the jet stream really just cuts through central and northern parts of the province. Collins Bay, -14, La Ronge at -2. So you can really see who's on that warmer side of the jet stream, just having a look at some of these temperatures in the south. +1 in Regina, +2 in Saskatoon, Maple Creek, up to +9, which is a far cry from where we were at this time last week, which I did want to step back to. I wanted to take a look at days that we've had below -30 for Saskatoon and Regina in particular. So the average 2 to 3 days that we'd see below -30 in the month of February. Yet no surprise, Regina at 12 days below -30 for overnight lows. Saskatoon also at 12, notably also 2 days below -40, which typically we'd see 0.4, 0.04, 0.05, something like that. So a small fraction of those below -40. So gives you a sense of how cold it's been. We are keeping the warm weather, actually enjoying some sunshine through the afternoon hours through southern parts of the province. A bit of a system sinking a little bit further south. As we get through the next couple of days, that cloud cover kind of ebbs and flows really province-wide. And out of that comes, particularly along the jet stream track here, a chance we could see some flurries or some light snow as we see some systems kind of coming in a parade or a train line right along that jet stream, particularly Tuesday into Wednesday. I think Saskatoon first thing in the morning on Wednesday, chance of maybe a few flurries or some rain showers, very, very slight chance of that in places like Regina and into southeastern parts of the province. But certainly looking at a mix of sun and clouds really throughout the week, and you can really see where we're expecting some of that snow for the next couple of days, even up to 5 or 6 centimeters possible for far northern parts of the province. So south and central, we stay on the warm side of the jet stream really through much of the week. It's not till we get into Friday that we start to shift things around a bit, introducing a bit more cooler air by the time we get into the weekend, but certainly still staying above seasonal for this time of the year. So Regina, Tuesday, looking at a cloudy 0, mix of sun and clouds into Wednesday, +2. Same for Thursday, sort of rinse and repeat as we get through the week here. A bit of wind on the way for Friday, and temperatures really staying around the freezing mark right into next week. For Saskatoon, 0 tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds. I think a bit more cloud first thing in the morning. 3 degrees for Wednesday and Thursday. Chance we could see a few showers, maybe some flurries first thing in the morning as we head through into the afternoon hours on Thursday. And Sam staying close to freezing right into the weekend.
We'd bring hens that are already, they're on the way to slaughter. So we rescue them. So we provide them with a old hen's home, if you like, and they can come here and retire.
It's the kind of retirement some of us can only dream of, living out the rest of our days on a farm in Cyprus. These hens are part of a pilot project. Introducing them to the olive groves has reduced pests and weeds, and their droppings fertilize the soil around the trees. Organic farmers are also saying it's helping boost yields, curb disease, and manage food waste. Pretty cool. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. The Vatican says Pope Francis has shown some improvement and has been able to resume some work today, but it says his prognosis remains, quote, guarded. The Pope is being treated at a Rome hospital for double pneumonia, although he has not experienced any respiratory crises since Saturday. Francis is also showing signs of mild kidney failure, but doctors on Sunday said a recent blood test indicates that it is under control.
I'll have a look at your overnight weather forecast. We're looking at temperatures staying above seasonal once again overnight into the morning hours on Tuesday. So Regina, Yorkton into eastern parts of the province, looking at temperatures around -6, -7. Particularly the further east you go, there is a chance we could see some fog patches, particularly where we've seen some brighter skies throughout the day, and even staying above 0 in Maple Creek at +1 tonight. -9 in North Battleford, looking at temperatures around -10 or colder for northern parts. Stony Rapids getting to -22 overnight. There's some flurries that exit the province as we get into the afternoon hours on Tuesday for northern sections, but there is that lingering chance as we get through the day that we do see a few flurries through the afternoon hours, really region-wide. Into southern sections, mix of sun and clouds to start. We'll see cloudier skies, particularly in the morning. We'll start to get some sun back as we get later into the afternoon. And Sam, looking at temperatures around the freezing mark for your Tuesday once again.
Thanks, Riley. The curling world is shifting its focus to Kelowna, BC, where the Montana's Brier kicks off on Friday. But over the weekend, the ladies wrapped up the Scotties across the country in Thunder Bay. Rachel Holman and her team are Canadian champions again, winning the Scotties Tournament of Hearts for the second year in a row.
Right now, Anderson's hitting the 2. Trying to carry Anderson's pocket.
And it's not her only reason to celebrate. Holman curled a perfect game, 100% in the Scotties final. She's the first skip in Scotties history to throw a perfect game in the final. It was a comfortable 6-1 win over Manitoba's Carrie Anderson. It was in the 7th, 8th, and 9th end that Holman scored the final 4 points. Holman and her team now head to Worlds in South Korea. That tournament takes place March 15th to 23rd. And that is it from us. For more news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. You can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.